All right. All I'm going to do is I just want to quick introduce you update you on what I've been doing, the project. I hope that you all got the rubric that I sent to my students. Basically, because of my experience with Dr. Graves, I've been researching Cove River behind my high school for 5 years now. This will be my 5th year. So after 4 years, I have some good baseline data of my water quality, my canopy cover, and other things like that. Using this experience and then my connections and the fact that I had an AP biology course this year, I decided to take it to another level, help put out some connections and other things like that. And then I'll kind of go through it as we go through the PowerPoint here. Yeah, first off, as I said, I've been working for 4 years in Cove River. I work with Dr. Scott Graves at Southern Connecticut State University. He's the one that introduced me to Globe when I was taking my master's degree. Southern helps me out by providing all kinds of probeware for me, other things like that. And then we've been doing routine studies of water quality, soil profile, and canopy coverage. Dr. Graves also works in the Cove River site on a lot of anthropology and archaeology stuff and things like that. So the project outlines. First thing, when I met the kids or my new students, I told them quickly within the first week that they were going to have to choose whether they wanted to work in a group or individually, and then they had to research a project. And then at first their mouths dropped and they're like, "Wait, that's it? We just have to research a project? You're not telling us what to do," other things like that. And I started saying, "Well, this is what science and scientists do." And then they choose a topic, they research it, and then they go out and they do their own research. And then I told them that we were going to do it in conjunction with Globe so that we were participating in an ongoing climate study and so on and so forth. And then luckily they all jumped in for me. Second, this happened last week. They had to submit a thesis statement to me as to what they wanted to study. Now, in the thesis statement, I asked them, I wanted to see that they did the background research. I asked them to check for resources. I wanted them to make sure they had resources so that they weren't going into this blindly. I needed a hypothesis from them, what materials they wanted to use, so on and so forth, because whatever materials I didn't have, I need to talk to Dr. Graves, or I had to write grants and try and get some other things. I have most of the materials myself already, so we'll keep going with that. I also asked them to research if anyone else was doing this similar study right in Connecticut, and then I'll get back to that later on. There's a few organizations that my students identified with. So not only will they be working with Globe, they'll also be working with local colleges and universities near West Haven High School and getting additional research. And it's all about connections and things like that. And that's what I told them. Where I got to what I did was because I go out, I volunteer, I take advantage of opportunities such as this Globe program. And it just leads me to new connections and new things. Now they're participating in their research once a month. We were going to go out last Friday, but then it was pouring. It's raining again now. It hasn't seemed to stop raining. But we're going to go out again on Friday this week. And then once a week, they go out to do their own project. They work together in doing water quality, canopy cover. I'll get into their projects in a minute. In March or April, they're going to have to submit a written report through the help of Jerry Fermento, who's a professor at Southern Connecticut State University who works with Dr. Graves. He gave me a connection to a local Connecticut science journal because not only do I want my kids to have the experience and to do this and to participate with Globe, it'd be also awesome if they could all get their articles published. So I got connected with the Connecticut Journal of Social Sciences. I don't know if you can see that, but what I'm going to do is I had a format of how to submit an article. So instead of having my kids write a report at the end, I'm actually having them all write articles that I'm going to submit to this journal and to a bunch of other or journals and see if I can get them published before they take off for college. After that, they're going to turn it into a college lab report poster. So I'm going to go to Southern. I'll either get the money out of the grant or pay it out of my pocket because for them this would be useful. They get the big poster with the expanded lab report right on it. Some of them I'm going to have some or submit them to the Yukon National Science Symposium. Others are going. Dr. Graves is going to want to take some of them and hang them up in his office at Southern. The rest we're going to put right in West Haven High School to in the hallways to inspire other kids to join on and start doing some of the work as well. And then finally, getting back to this Globe project, the first week of June, I'm going to be meeting with my partner, and then my students are going to be presenting to her students using Skype and basically do a science fair, except we'll be doing it electronically via Skype. And then, of course, we'll put the invitation out to anyone else in the Globe program that wants to join in and see what my students did as well. So that's the basic outline of the project. Student topics, this is what they've come up with so far. One group wants to check out the levels of air pollution in West Haven by identifying levels of nitrogen dioxide. And then I've, of course, associated this all with Globe protocols. We'll be using Globe protocols. These students will be using some probeware. They'll be checking the levels in the water to see if it's adding to acid rain, other things like that. And then what they'll do is because the whole point is that they're going to research what's happening in West Haven and then compare it to what's going on in the rest of the world. So because Globe, that's what it's doing. We take the research, we submit it, and then it goes to one international data log so that we can identify climatic changes and other things like that. Well, I said, why not take it to the next level and have our kids do actual research in West Haven, compare it to the rest of the world, and see, maybe West Haven has lower nitrogen dioxide levels. Maybe we're doing something that can benefit the rest of the world. Or maybe ours is higher than the rest of the world. Maybe we could research and figure out what the rest of the world is doing and seeing how we can improve our levels in the town of West Haven. Another group wants to do levels of acid rain. It will be mainly with the Globe Hydrosphere pH protocols. They'll be testing it for the nitric sulfuric acid or just nitrates, sulfates, other things like that. And then they'll do a comparison. Phragmites is the next thing. It's actually an invasive exotic species. It's a problem throughout a lot of eastern United States, and I'm sure other places as well. It's a reed, and then it just keeps growing, and you can't get rid of it unless you fully dig it out. You have to dig out every last part of its root. If you don't get if there's just a little piece of it left, it will keep growing, and then it will take over an entire area. This, of course, goes with the Globe Biosphere. I'll bring it up later. There is a Phragmites removal group through the DP company in West Haven. So the student is going to be contacting them and then hopefully going out and working with them and doing some research, taking it to a whole nother level. Moving on, because of the hurricane, we haven't been hit by a hurricane in Connecticut since we've had small ones. The last big one was in the 80s, but a lot of it turned kids on. You know, what's going on in the water? What's going on in the storms? You know, how are we contributing that all of a sudden we're getting these storms and that the hurricanes are increasing? So I may ask questions to Ms. Jennings, who just helped us out as we go along for this group too. But they're going to be studying in the atmosphere, biosphere, geosphere, checking all those things, monitoring the weather. We have a weather bug station in our school, so they can monitor it that way too. Another group is going to be doing interested in fertilizer runoff. They check with the University of New Haven, which is only 15 minutes away from our school. There's actually a professor there that's researching the impact on fish migration of and dissolved oxygen and such based on fertilizer runoff. But we have a lot of golf courses near Cove River and that are the tributaries that come off of it. So they want to look at the stuff that's going on to the golf courses, how it's getting into the water, how it decreases algae growth, and then how that in turn affects dissolved oxygen for the fish and other things that are living in the water. Next group is, of course, impacts on climate change, on habitat. Is there a significant climate change that is destroying our habitat? Obviously, climate change is bringing in the hurricane, took out a lot of our Cove River. It wasn't as significant of damage as I thought it was going to be, but they're going to be researching that. And then almost done. Another group is the same thing. Japanese knotweed is another invasive species. They're more interested. She's going to specify on the pH of the water and see if the pH changes, if it will affect the Japanese knotweed, which is another invasive exotic. And then maybe if we change pH, we could get rid of the Japanese knotweed without affecting the rest of the community or the Cove River. Another student who has actually been working in the research doing the archaeology over the past few summers. So he has some baseline data himself. Wants to look at compare the indigenous societies. This would of course be through the anthrosphere, which is a spelling error. And sorry, in the PowerPoint, but he'll be looking at the geosphere and the anthrosphere. And he wants to see how the indigenous societies used to use the land and the environment of West Haven and compare it to how we're doing it today. And then he has, with the baseline data, he has a good chance of being accepted into the UConn National Science Symposium because he can take this to a whole nother level. We're going to do temperature and climate change on spread of CFCs. My students know that CFCs go in and then they're affecting the ozone layer. And then they want to see with the changes in the temperature and climate, is it changing the speed on CFCs? We're going to be doing some contained lab experiments as well, testing that out, and then we'll be doing it into the Cove River. I should also mention that now that we have our globe station set up with the ability to have the temperatures out front, the high and low level, everything else is right in front of our school. My students, although they go out monthly, they'll also be able to go out daily on their own, check the temperatures, check the water levels. If we have the rain being collected, they'll be able to test borrow some probeware and test the pH of the rain, and then so they'll be able to go a lot further. So I greatly appreciate the globe kit that was sent to me from Globe, the high school kit, because it's definitely going to be used in this research. These are the resources that I have. As I said, Southern Connecticut State University is providing with probeware, water quality sampling. The Globe program sent us all that high school research toolkit, which is going to be beneficial because it allows me to not only research in my area, it also allows me to research in Cove River. It also allows me to research right in front of my high school. So, and it allows the kids to do more than just monthly samples. They could do daily samples. They could take it to whatever level they like. As I mentioned, I contacted Ray Delachant, who's an editor of the Connecticut Journal of Science Education. He's going to email me a format that he likes articles to be sent in, and then I'm going to use that as a format. I'll make a rubric for my students at the end of the year after they've done the research, so they can practice being scientists that want to be accredited and get published. We have the Milford, Connecticut National Oceanic Atmosphere Agency. It's located 15 minutes away from our school. They do boat trips. They also have a fishery in the bottom of their, in the base of their station. They do algae research, other things. So my students that are testing pH, looking for those things, they could go over there and they could do research right at NOAA. They always invite us over. UNH, the professor's name is John Kelly. He's researching acid rain impact on fish migration. So all my students that are doing acid rain or pH of water and things like that, I'm going to have them set up a trip over to UNH and check out what he's doing. We have, as I said, the Connecticut DEP Phragmites Control Project, which is run by the director, Mark Payne. I'm going to have my students that are doing the invasive exotics contact him, get a little more inside information on what they're doing. So not only are we bringing into their studies, the GLOBE program, they're also going to be meeting grad students and students doing current research at universities around them. They're going to be doing research of their own. So I want this to, if I'm trying to help make scientists, I want to give them as many tools as they have or as they can. I want them to have as much under their belt before they go to school, so that when they get there, hopefully they're inspired to quickly meet with a grad teacher or a teacher and continue on their research. The Connecticut State National Standards and Opportunities. We discussed this when we were at our cohort last summer, and then what we're trying to do. A lot of people had questions, even in the programs that Dr. Graves is doing now. I try to help out and train local teachers about how to apply your state standards and national standards to the research. For my master's degree, for my biology secondary education dual cert, I actually aligned all of GLOBE standards or all the GLOBE protocols with the national and Connecticut state standards, and they apply to any course that you want to do. So doing this long-term training, I can apply it to anything. If I'm doing microbiology, well, I could compare it to GLOBE with the biosphere. If I'm doing ecology, I could definitely apply it to GLOBE. If I'm doing plant and cell respiration, I could apply it to GLOBE with the atmosphere. I showed how it was easy to align it. So as soon as I said I was doing this project, my principal and all my faculty was right behind me. As I said, it provides opportunities for students to participate in research, not only in the GLOBE research, but possibly other research opportunities through local colleges, which leads to the next one: engages students with college research opportunities, opportunities for students to be published in local science journals, and then research to use and applying to attend the Yukon National Junior Science Symposium, which is something else that they could do before they move on to college. Here's some pictures of my students working in Cove River. Right here, they're studying stream flow. They measure out 10-meter level. They drop a floating lemon into it that you could buy at any supermarket. You squeeze the lemon juice out, and then you have a floating lemon. And then they could identify stream flow. So if they're monitoring to see if nitrates and phosphates are getting in water, how fast it's moving, how fast it's spreading. By the way, I could put these photos on because when I have my students sign up, they all sign not only a permission slip from me for photos for West Haven High School, but also photos for Southern Connecticut State University. So those photos could get used as well. And they were all excited to do it anyhow. These kids are collecting critters. They hold it down in the water. They rub some rocks, get the algae off. They kick up the bottom, so that by collecting critters, we could actually use it as water quality standards to see, are there indicator species that are surviving, keystone species, things like that? What's the majority of the species? Are there species that are growing in population to possible fertilizers, things getting inside of there? So that's some other stuff that we're doing. These students are doing chemistry. We collect the water. We bring chem kits right out there. But not only do we do probeware, I like to have my students do the old school chem kits as well, with all the titering and drops and everything else like that, multiple trials. That gets them, so now we can monitor the water quality. Here's students doing some more. What they're doing is they're not doing the stream flow as much. What they do is they measure out transects, and then they go away from the water to see how much biosphere is out there. Is it impacting the water? How close are the roads that may add on runoff and other things like that? These students are measuring out the 30 by 30 transects for the canopy cover. Once they have the 30 by 30 squares, we actually have it memorized in Cove River, where a good estimate where to drop down the four corners. Then they go back and forth. They do using a simple tool of PCP piping with some fishing line on one end as a cross, and then a paper clip to identify a center. They just go back and forth and say check or non-check whether or not there's canopy cover there. Add it up, and then they can find a percentage. So by monitoring percentage and canopy cover, it could go with the bud bursts and everything else like that. When are the leaves coming out earlier? Are the leaves coming out later? I know I'm covering a whole broad spectrum now, and when I'm done in a second, you could ask me questions on anything. But I figure why have kids just do one thing? Let them choose what they want to do, and then hopefully it'll make the research a little more important to them.